maybe 50 slides very quickly. Since it is a little warm in here, I'll try to cover the material quickly. The slideshow is set up to give everybody an idea of where we're currently at with the fire station and where we want to move to with the building of the new fire station. So you'll get a brief history, what we're doing with the current fire station and what the project will look like with the new fire station. If you didn't get an opportunity to see the story that was run by KCRG sometime back, we'll start with that.
And the city of Alburnett is creating a new fire station.
Tonight, the city council is expected to vote on hiring a company to come up with plans for that station. Today, firefighters showed us around the station they're currently using. It was built in the early 1950s, and they say they've simply outgrown it. Since it was designed for another era, they say today it's simply not large enough to house all of their trucks and equipment. And they say the room where the 23 firefighters do much of their training is also too small.
The window's cracked because the fire truck backs in within half an inch of the walls.
As far as cost, we won't know until we actually bid the project, but our budgetary proposal is $650,000 for the project.
The mayor of Alburnett told TV9 he expects the city council to approve hiring a contractor for a new firehouse. The city would build it off Roosevelt and Willow Streets on that property you just saw. The city says it will be welcoming donations from people who support the construction.
So that story ran a few months ago. That's when we first announced. We talked about the building of the fire station, where we were at. You'll hear that $650,000 number. You'll see it later, and that's what the city has put together for our funding right now. We'll talk about shortfalls of funding, and we'll also talk about what we need to do to try to come up with the rest of that funding, and that'll be done in a number of ways. If you've been watching the council meetings on YouTube, you'll see that when we initially talked about building the fire station, we talked about mechanisms for coming up with funding. Ideally, the city will try to fund it, the township will fund it, then we'll look at initiatives such as grants. We'll talk about those, what we've received so far. And then we talked about also donations or fundraising. And then we get into bonding to make up the difference of what we need to do to build a fire station. So that'll be, you'll see that in the presentation this evening. So we'll get into the presentation itself. This is the layout of what you're going to see tonight. Each area has somewhere between 5 and 15 slides, so I'll cover the material, like I say, timely, so folks don't get tied up too much your night or get too warm in here. The first part, we'll talk about the background and history of the existing fire station. Obviously, there's folks in here that probably know that better than me, but I've done enough research and talked to enough folks that I think we can go over a little bit about it. And we'll talk about the fire station today, the need for the new fire station, the new station itself, where it's at, what it's going to look like, and some of the plans that we put together to that, and then cost and financing. And at the very end, you'll have an opportunity to ask any questions that you may have. Actually, you can ask a question anytime we go along, but that's what it'll be. So when we talk about the fire station today, as it says, the items on the left are either just informational stuff or things that pertain to the particular pictures. Something to read while I'm jabbering along with here. So the fire station today, as it is, sits there. Obviously, the two parts of the fire station we'll talk about are original fire station and then the addition. The existing station built as a fire station in 1951 and then expanded in 73. Some talk about when it actually was done. We went back and looked at records in the city, and we couldn't come up with the exact date, but from talking to folks, we believe around 73 is when that was put into place. The cost to build in 1951 was around $17,000 for the first fire station, and there hasn't been any major improvements since 73. You're going to see timelines a little bit later when we talk about the fire station. Around every 25 years, either some addition, some improvement, or some desire to make an addition or improvement was put into place. The first fire station was 2 bays. There was an engine and auxiliary truck, a small bathroom area, admin and storage in the back. Later on, we'll look at a plan of the original fire station. You can kind of see the changes that have taken place, not only in the the fire station itself, but in how engines and auxiliary trucks and fire trucks today have changed to the point that even if we wanted to keep the fire station, it wouldn't meet any of the requirements that would be likely for us to purchase new equipment. This is the city maintains its records back to the mid-40s on. So when we pulled up those original records, we know that on June 18, 1951, this was the funding that was set aside for the fire department to put those vehicles in place. So the numbers are accurate. We know originally that it was a strong relationship between Otter Creek Township and the city of Alburnett to put the fire department in place. This particular picture that the Historical Society gave me access to, when you look at this corner of the fire station, you're actually seeing this corner here. I know for a fact I counted the bricks, so that's what you're looking at here. I don't know any of these folks, but this vehicle is circa 1950s. I went and looked it up. I believe it's around a 53, maybe. Somebody in here knows more about vehicles can tell me. This is what the fire station will look like at the time. Obviously, I couldn't place it on its current foundation, so I set that on neighbor's open lot over there. But this is what it will look like at the time. Your fire station today, as it sets, and we'll move into the second part of the portion of it. Fire department currently has 23 members made up of the firefighters, EMTs, and their ground support. This is your fire department as today. This is not everybody on the fire department, but these were the folks at the time that the photograph was taken. This is a volunteer fire department, no full-time employees. These are made up of the folks that are within our community, the township, the city. Everything that they do is on a volunteer basis, and they're the ones that are responding not only on the medical calls, fire calls, storm watch, you name it. They're the ones that are responding for you. Fire department has strong Facebook following. Almost 800 people follow their Facebook. If you've not been to the fire department's Facebook page, you can go there, see what they're doing on a daily basis or weekly basis. They're very active within the community, and they serve the community in many facets, including sporting events, again, storm watch, and community events. If you go to the city's Wikipedia page, you'll see there's an area dedicated to public safety, which includes the blurb about the fire department. And if you go to the city's website, you'll see that we have a presence for the fire department, including the current project. So they are very well represented within the community and integrated into the community with everything that they do. The fire chief is Steve Graham, the assistant chief Cameron Ford, and we have 3 captains, Vernon, TJ, and Andrew. They're all play different roles within the fire department. They also have a strong presence for junior firefighters, which are also integrated within the community that come up and replace those folks that are at the top end of the fire department. One of the important aspects that we're going to talk about later with the fire department is the community has to continue to have new volunteers to come into the fire department to be able to staff it, maintain it, and have people that can respond timely to put out the fires. If the fire department can't fill its bill of personnel when coming, or they don't have enough to respond to a fire or a medical incident, then it goes to mutual aid to a responding department. All that delays the response, especially when a house is on fire, a child choking, a cardiac event, a seizure, things like that. So you can see the importance of having trained personnel within the community. This will give you an idea. I'll run statistics from 2016, 2017, and 2018 so you can see the importance of the fire calls. It also gives you a balance between the township and the city of what they're running for calls. So each one of these are placed in here. What these calls don't always reflect is every time the fire department is doing a specific event. Some community events are not in here. Some of the events that they do for their pancake breakfast, that sort of thing. Some of the stuff that they do on the side that is not marked down as far as a special event, things like that. So these numbers will always be low. But you can see it's active between the township and the city and the balance between. The 2017 activity and the 2018 activity. So somewhere between 80 and 90 total calls. In the side notes, you can see that they also perform those additional duties that we were talking about. This is where we go into the need for the new fire station. The fire station project has been going on for some time, and I know a lot of folks say, well, we have the, not a lot, but some folks say that we have the current fire station, they're functioning out of it. What do we need to do to build the additional fire station? The best I can tell from talking to folks and looking back at records was in 1998, Fire Chief then had put blueprints together to attempt to get a new fire station. That continued up through 2007, and there were updated plans that were brought in from an architectural group. And in 2009, those architectural plans were put into place, and a pretty active campaign was put into place to build a new fire station. Unfortunately, it didn't come to fruition until now in 2018, the city released its RFP, or request for proposal, to an architectural and engineering group to build a fire station. We put the funding together, we purchased additional land to the west of town to be able to put the fire station in place, and we plan to start construction next year. So as we put our funding in place, which will occur within the next 30 to 60 days, a release of an RFP for the construction group will come into place, and we'll build the fire station next year. So it's not if, it's when. The process is in place. As we talk about the existing fire station and the need to be able to build it, it's important that you understand why that fire station will no longer be adequate and why it has to be done right now. The inadequate space for the existing vehicles is paramount. You've seen it within the KCRG representation of the story that they did. The fire trucks are literally backed into the vehicle, or backed into the building with inches in the back and just enough room for a firefighter to walk in the front. And you'll see photographs of that again as we talk about it. There's inadequate space for personnel to do training, to move around, to be able to respond. It's bad enough in good weather, but in inclement weather and snow or cold, it's even worse for the firefighters to be able to get in there, do their training, and worse yet, be able to get into turnout gear to respond. There's inadequate decontamination. When firefighters respond to the fires, all that carcinogenics get on their turnout gear, the fire residue, anything that they have to be in and around gets on their gear, within their mask, and they have to get that clean. We don't have sufficient facilities to be able to do that. They have inadequate storage. Most of the storage of the fire department, if you've been in there or taken the tour, and the firefighters will be here afterwards if you want a tour of the fire department. They have to store all their gear together. So cross-contamination is a major issue, as well as not having enough storage to be able to put the gear that they need to function. All of this turns into a health and safety concern. The fumes from the diesel vehicles, the cross-contamination, the carcinogenics, all these are health concerns to each one of the firefighters, and we'll cover that as we go through it. I make these obvious deficiencies, there'll be a list later, but these obvious ones are the ones of why we can no longer wait even a day to build a new fire station. This is the space, as you'll see here. You'll see a bigger or a more detailed picture here as they put their gear in place on the sides here, because there's no other place to put it, which literally limits how much space they have to be able to get ready when they have to respond. Current fire department is 60 feet by 40 feet. So as you look at this facility and how tight things are in there, the back end of the training room, which reduces it by approximately another 10 feet, you also have to lose about 2 feet on the very front here. Minus that walking space, you can see how tight it is between those vehicles. The size of these vehicles were designed for a fire department built in the 50s and then retro again in the 70s. You cannot purchase a fire truck today that will fit in this facility. So they can barely fit with the vehicles that they have now, and there is absolutely no room for expansion anymore. So if a fire truck goes out, or anything goes wrong in the existing facility that would cause destruction to one of these vehicles, there is no replacement option for what we need to do, other than trying to purchase old equipment. This gives you an example of how tight the fire trucks are. This picture is taken as the vehicle set in there. Again, you can stop by the fire department anytime you want. That's exactly what you're going to see. This gives you an example of how much movement that they have within the front of the vehicles. If you go over for training sometime, I didn't put a ton of pictures on here, but if you ever go over for training where they have to do training for smoke-filled rooms where they literally block their mask for their gear, you'll see that they have no choice but to train in the same facility and only have small crawl areas to be able to do that in. Whereas fire departments with larger facilities or newer facilities have complete training areas to be able to do that in. The better the training, the better the reaction that they're going to have. It's not uncommon that we've had fires within our communities or within the township. So it's important that they have that replacement to be able to have those facilities to do so. This is the storage of their turnout gear. On the sides there, you can see where they're stacked. This area here was just a few feet. And in a moment, you'll see that when they come in, they'll have to be able to wear that turnout gear in that same area. Again, in absolutely good weather, no inclement weather, no cold weather, no high wind, nothing like that, they could pull the vehicle out to be able to do that. And then get in their turnout gear and then respond to a fire for a house fire within the city or township. In bad weather, it's not possible. It's just not possible. The below weather, what we get for temperatures in Iowa doesn't make it feasible. The other thing is, yes, you can ask them to pull their vehicles out to get ready to get in the vehicles, but you're taking time off. Whether it's cost them 2 minutes or 3 minutes, that's enough time for somebody in cardiac arrest to have permanent brain damage from the response. It's enough time for a child choking to die. It's enough time for a drowning victim to have irreversible brain damage. I know that sounds dramatic, but this is what they're dealing with, and this is why we need a new facility. The diesel contamination. If you go into a new fire facility, pick one, I don't care where, go into Cedar Rapids, Hiawatha, go into Marion, wherever, or even a newer facility around here, you'll see that diesel is not allowed, or the exhaust from diesel is not allowed to go open into a bay like that. They have to have an exhaust system that makes that exhaust go out to the open. It can't be inside the facility with them. Because of inadequate storage, that exhaust comes within the facility and it contaminates their gear, contaminates them. It's not good for the person to breathe. It's a problem across the board. It wouldn't be allowed by OSHA in a new facility. The exhaust extraction systems in new facilities look something like this. So you can see that it's a problem within our facility, and it's an unsafe condition for the existing firefighters. Now, do they deal with it? Yes, they do. Do they take the best safety precautions? Of course they do. But you can see it's problematic within a facility that's so small that was never designed to have extraction systems like this. You don't want to take my word for it? You can go onto Google, type in diesel exhaust and cancer, and you can look up all your own research and see. It's a serious problem, and it's not a problem. It's not exclusive to fire departments. You can go into any major shop or any trucking company or anywhere else where you have to have exhaust extraction systems. I talked about the poor ventilations and the dirty gear that's got to be separate and cleaned to prevent cross-contamination. In a minute, you're going to see some photographs from the fire department. You're going to see their bathroom facilities, you're going to see their sinks, you're going to see what they have to deal with. There's not only inadequate storage, there's inadequate space, there's inadequate cleaning facilities, which necessitates the fire department have to take their gear to an off-site facility. Sometimes that's home, sometimes that's outside, sometimes that's another facility completely. This would never be done in a new facility. A new facility would have showers, a new facility would have cleaning areas, a new facility would have decontamination areas. So again, they're dealing with things that should never be in place, but because of the age of the building, you can see see the necessity of what we have to deal with. I shouldn't say we, what they have to, but we as a city and a community. This is their cleaning facility. You can see that storage goes right up to their cleaning area. And if I back this picture up, you would see even more storage. And if I couldn't back up too far because I'd run into the back of a fire truck. So that's what they have to deal with. They're doing the best they can. They do a good job with it. And you can see the necessity of why we need the new facility and what they have to deal with. Again, they have no choice but to take their gear with them to clean out their masks or to clean off their gear in the event of contamination. This is their bathroom. I work for the city of Cedar Rapids. We went through an ADA ruling a few years ago. Everywhere in that city, everywhere, we had to go through and make everything ADA compliant. Now that's not going to happen in the city of Alburnett, I understand that. But there's no reason in the world every facility isn't ADA compliant. I work in the police department. They came in and they made everything ADA compliant. There's no police officers in wheelchairs, but that has nothing to do with it. We made everything ADA compliant. Locker rooms, bathrooms, everything. If you go to a fuel facility in the city of Cedar Rapids, where you have to put in your car to get fuel, you'll see one that's this high, as well as the ones that are this high. Everything ADA compliant. So you can see the importance of having a bathroom that is ADA compliant. You can't go to the fire department for a tour. You can't go there for an event. You can't rent space there. You can't do anything and have a bathroom for somebody that's disabled. There isn't a male bathroom and a female bathroom for any type of special needs or anything. Any type of storage, nothing. It's all unisex, non-ADA compliant, and no storage. This is an overhead view of the fire department as it stands today. The firefighters respond to the station prior to going to the event. Somebody has to get the vehicles, they have to get ready and go. On a medical, can some of them go directly to the scene? Sure. On a fire where they have to get in their turnout gear, that's a different story. They have to park somewhere. This is no parking. That's the response of the trucks coming out. This is no parking. The lot line is right about here, but they have to come in and get entrance into the building, and they can't block the throughway for the additional vehicles to come in. That is no parking. You can't see it from the overhead satellite view, but it's a berm at about a 30-degree angle maybe. You can't park there. But you could, you might get hit by a train. That is no parking. I don't know if that park has a name. No, but that is a park area. Benches and concrete and marble. And that is no parking, it's not our property. That's the area that's left for firefighters to be able to park. No parking for firefighters, no parking for the public, no parking for events, nothing. No handicap parking, no uneven parking, no specialty parking, nothing. Completely non-ADA compliant, no parking for the people, which forces them to park on the street, park across the street, depending on the time of day, and then come across. Again, do they deal with it? They do, but it's all a delayed response. Inadequate backing. The new fire station will have drive-through doors if we get the funding that we need and get everything put into place that we need. This is approximately 40 feet. Those trucks have to be backed in. They activate their lights, they back them in, and so on and so forth. The new station would have facilities that would allow for drive-through parking with bay doors that would allow for that, as well as bigger areas and doors that are back off the street. So when you look at the new fire station that's projected here in just a moment, you'll see that they don't interact with anything on the street that would interrupt regular flows of traffic during that situation. Inadequate door safety. The doors on there go up and down. Anywhere that has a new facility is going to have some mechanism in place that doesn't crush equipment, doesn't crush people, has sensors, has safety equipment, has emergency releases and things like that. Because of the age of the fire department, those doors go up and down. Inadequate fire prevention. There's no sprinkler system, there's no halon system, there's no dry chemical system, nothing. Fire department burns down, everything in it's gone. Hopefully the fire department can find a place to park, get there to put out the fire. But if it goes, it's done. It's not even a sprinkler system. Homes are better protected than our fire department, which is the folks that come put out the fire at home. Inadequate training and storage. I talked to the NSA MGA, our engineers. They're here tonight, our architectural engineers somewhere right here. Talked to them earlier. For a meeting room, they want 15 square feet per person. They condense it down to 7 square feet for standing, depending on tables and chairs. The more people, they tell me, the more bathrooms and facilities you're going to have in a new fire station. For what they have in their back training room, I ran the square footage. They're asking them to work in a 2x2 area. Basically per person. For in their training, they get an area this big. That's how much they have in their training room. Now I know not everybody, probably there's people young enough in here that's never seen a phone booth, but I have. I made a phone call on one once. That's what you're asking them to work in. Prison cells. A prisoner in the United States gets more room than they get to do training in their own fire station. Just some perspective of what we should be doing for them. And then this is a quick comparison. Of all the things that we're talking about there, I ran a list and did a comparison back and forth. The only thing that is in comparison between the location that the fire department's in and the new location is they're both pretty good for a response. It won't change much of a response time. Other than that, design, number of bays, training room, size, office space, storage space, showers, restrooms, vehicle exhaust, hazmat, decon. It's failure across the board. I know I'm driving that home, but we can't wait another day to do the fire department to put it in place. And that's the importance of why we're trying to stress this to the public and why we're putting it in place, even if it means bonding for several $100,000. All right, we're almost done. The new fire station, just a quick reference of what it's going to look like. This is the area west of town. Originally, we had this area which was donated as part of the development portion by Rex Naylor. We purchased another portion of it because of some drainage and some size area that we needed for future projects. So this has already been purchased. That was done in 2018. This will be the location of the new fire department. I can't give you an exact address, but if you want one, Google Earth tells me 2611 Roosevelt will be a pretty close address of where the new fire station is going to go. If you project what Naylor Addition will look like when it's done, it'll look something like that. The area to the west of that fire, that's not exactly what the lot's going to look like either, but I had to take some liberty. To the west of the fire station is probably going to be a park. It could be a recreational area. It could be in addition to a walking trail. We don't know. We have some grants, a wellness grant that is going to take us out that way and do some different things. The well house is out there. It's got to be something that incorporates into it. But you can get an idea of what it's going to look like, what the placement is going to be, and what that fire station is going to look like for response. There will actually be another drive and whatnot, but I got a little tired of kind of moving on. But you get an idea. This is the interior of the fire department. You get the exterior design of what it's going to look like. You get the interior layout. This was sent out in your newsletter so you can get the idea of what it is. You see the drive-through bays. And then that's an E level. I'll zoom it up here for you. One of the possible designs is to bid it to where maybe we do some of this work locally instead of finishing out the product as a total bid. We may bid it both ways. You can see that this training room is considerably bigger. There's double sets of bathrooms, both for the firefighters and a community area. This would allow the firefighters to do a lot of different things. I talk about it a little bit later in the presentation, but things at the end of the presentation. But firefighters right now could never open up their training area to do things like teach community classes for CPR. They couldn't rent this area out for you to have a meeting in your in your community. Our existing facility would never allow for that. So you can see, give them that training area and facilities with a kitchen and bathrooms could open up new possibilities for the community. This area outside the fire station to the east will be a memorial area where their flags are displayed and some of our, either a monument or some would recognize some of the folks that did some donations for the fire department. We do want to recognize folks that give donations that make this possible for us. These are some examples of other fire departments that did memorials. We don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know what we're going to do. It's a latter part of the project, but we do know that we want an area that we can come up to and recognize folks that made it possible, recognize firefighters or public safety responders in some way. So I've cited a couple examples here that folks have done. Some folks have just done a wall, and they've included that for public safety people or including military. So veterans can be recognized of the community or even within the state. Firefighters, police, EMS, that sort of thing. Not only for our community, but for other communities to see. Okay, so we'll get down to cost and financing. This is the last portion. The proposed cost of the new fire station is $1.25 million. That gets us the fire station, the build out as presented with that you saw within the plan, and basically the front portion of it going on to Roosevelt. The back lot would be unfinished. That's no concrete back there. We have a couple different ideas of what we want to do there. We can pay for the concrete. We can try to get somebody to volunteer services for it, or we can do it at a later time. It gives you an idea of where we're at in cost. The revenues that we currently have, the city fire fund had $186,469.73. We put $100,000 in reserves in FY19, another $100,000 from FY20, and the loss fund of $150,000. The township put $100,000, and the fire had their donation fund at $20,000. Put us around $650,000, which is that number you heard me talk about at the beginning. It doesn't get us to 1.25. Expenditure so far, $55,000 for land, $55,250 for our architectural and legal fees, around $119,250 in liability so far spent. And those costs will go up. So we knew we had to bridge that gap with additional revenue. We weren't going to get there. One form or another, we are building a fire station, but we had to bridge that gap with costs. We talked about this from the beginning. How were we going to do that? The ideal way was fundraising. Donations up to $500,000 would solve our problem. Other communities our size have done it. We could ask for donated materials and services. Our local people that have concrete, rock, electrical services, things like that that could assist us in the bid. Grants. We've looked at somewhere around $20,000 worth of grants and different things, a wellness grant, some, I think we got a firehouse grant, things like that. And then finally bonding, general obligations bond, up to the amount of the shortfall, which is what will fund the rest of this project. General obligations bond, they have to be paid back. So the city has the capability of bonding for that. That's not a problem. Our city is not over-bonded by any means. But that does have an effect on not only your taxes, but on what the city is capable of bonding for. Again, Alburnett is fiscally strong. We can do it. But that has to make up the shortfall. You can see why we want to pursue donations instead of bonding. One of the other areas was revenue from the old fire station. What would be the disposition of what we were going to do with the old fire station and that particular piece of property? The property itself is not the best piece of property when it comes to commercial interests. You can see the train tracks on the back side. They're parking that we talked about is not ideal. The facility is old. We have the park on the north end that we would not like to lose. 3 options came up: sale of the property, renovate it, utilize it for city purposes, or lease it for commercial use. Sale of the property is the quickest and easiest. It generates revenue. We dump it into the fire department project, and then we get taxable income on whoever. Right now it's tax exempt. We get taxable income from whoever buys it. If we renovate it, use it for city use, we have an investment cost into it from the city, and no taxable income because we retain it and we're a non-taxable, tax exempt entity. And then if we use it for commercial use, we would probably have to make some improvements till it still rent it out to whoever for commercial use or lease it, and still not have the taxable income for the city. Those are our options with the old facility. And then our donations. Why donate? Donations are tax deductible. They reduce our potential for bonding. And larger donations will receive some sort of recognitions, even if I pay for it myself for what we'll give them. Some talk has been done for donations for a coin. I'm a big fan of this. I think that we should do a memorial coin for what was done at the fire department, especially if we choose to take it down. The coin would have some type of identification of the fire department symbol on the front and a picture of the old fire department on the back, not the whole fire department, the original fire department. These would be purchased in a limited edition, and they would be given out to the donors over $5,000. So they can retain a piece of history in the event we do take down the old fire department. Donations over $10,000. In that memorial area I talked about, for those folks that donate over $10,000, they would have their name in that area permanently and maintained at the fire department. And for large donations over $50,000, they would get their name inside the facility on a capstone bronze plaque as members to build the fire department within the facility, maintained forever as the life building. Just a thank you for supporting the facility. Again, these are conceptual ideas, but they're the ones that we're looking at to support the folks that donate. You'll see donation forms that are available here. We'll have them online after tonight, and we'll make those available to folks that want to assist us. Obviously, the more we get in donations, the less we have to bond for, so it's important that we have these meetings now and talk about it. In closing, the fire department benefits the entire community. The new facility will help with recruiting and retention and help new firefighters come up, which is going to be crucially important throughout the life of the city. It provides a safe facility for the firefighters. I think we've beat that to death, but I wanted to make sure that folks understand what they're currently working in and the importance of why it needs to be replaced. I talked about this a little bit earlier. Not only the tours for the community and the schools and CPR training, but I did want to make a couple other points. We don't have an emergency operations center within the city. In the event of a catastrophe such as flooding or a tornado, we do have to have an area to work out of for FEMA or any other areas that they would come in and work with us. The new fire facility would allow that to happen and allow those resources to stage and be able to assist us. And a staging area for school emergency plans. This is important because in larger cities, they always have school emergency plans set up where they have an alternate location for people to go to. I'm sorry to say that we have to talk about this seriously now in the United States, but in the event of a school emergency, you have to have an alternate unification center for kids and parents, and you have to have an alternate staging center. And we don't have a good one. Can't use the existing fire station, it's too close to the school. So you have to have those. Unification centers can be designated as a church that is farther away. I believe the one to the south is what we utilize now, or the one to the north, either one. But to the west would give us a staging area that gives us a better opportunity for vehicles to do that. I'm sad to say. Anyway, that completes it. I think we've covered everything you need to know about the fire station, what we're doing and why it'll come down to bonding if necessary, and the importance of the donation piece. We have folks here that are